video. So we're continuing on with my Rediscover Your Stash series. So this is literally what I'm doing. I'm going through my stash and I'm trying to use it in another way, or, you know, if I've been hoarding it, kind of like my Maggie Holmes collection, and this is only one. This is my Flourish collection of my Maggie Holmes collections, and I've got it in this iris case, and I want to use it up. So the project we're making today is a mini album, and it's going to be so easy, so don't be intimidated that it has a chipboard cover, because I know sometimes people can be a little intimidated if you're like a beginner crafter to make an album with a chipboard cover, but this is going to be so easy. So this idea came from another fellow crafter here on YouTube. Her name is Elliot, and she makes wonderful craft videos. She's so talented. Her channel is Elliot, and I'll link it below, but she had this brilliant idea several years ago to do this like twine binding. So I'm going to take my variation of that and show you what I'm going to do with it. So I'm going to link her tutorial below as well. That is definitely where I was inspired to do this project. I'm going to do a step-by-step tutorial. We're going to make one of these together, and I'm so excited. So the weather is a little bit cloudy today, but I'm going to try to work with it anyways, and I hope that you enjoy this. So let's go ahead and get started on this super fun mini album tutorial. The first thing I want to do is kind of show you what I have in this collection, and again, we're rediscovering our stash this year, kind of shopping through it, looking at it in a different way. So I have so much collected for the Flourish collection by Maggie Holmes. This collection is timeless. It is gorgeous. I've got so many pieces to it. It's not even funny. I have the ephemera packs, the frames. I have like this little size right here. I mean, this paper, if you have not seen it, is absolutely gorgeous. Perfect for springtime. Perfect for any time, actually. This is one of my favorite sheets right here. I love that so much. So I've got that. I've got all these like embellishment packs, different ephemera packs from different places. If I can find any of this anywhere, I know it's hard to find now, I will link it below for you. But my advice is to check out your Tuesday morning to see if they have any of this stuff. So I've got these stickers, I've got these cute little tassels, and of course I've got the big stuff here. So I've got the sticker sheets, lots of those. And of course I've got a lot of the paper. So for me, I kind of became obsessed with this collection. I did make a couple of projects with it, and I'll try to link those either here or below. I've got the whole paper pad here, and I've got so many individual sheets because if you get the paper pad, it's single-sided, and the individual sheets are double-sided. So I, of course, was obsessed with that. So we're going to be working with mostly the double-sided paper today. But I want to try to get through this, and I have so much. It's like so ridiculous. I mean, you can tell this is my favorite sheet because of how many I have of it. So I became a little obsessed, and that's kind of what I'm trying to stop doing. I'm trying to see a collection, enjoy it, and use it for what it is. Enjoy the pieces that it has to offer. I don't need 50 million copies of each one. So I'm trying to get through my stash and trying to use my stuff in a way that I can enjoy it and love it and still have, you know, the beautiful prints, but just not hoard all of the supplies. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm really excited, and I just want to mention that Maggie Holmes / I guess crepe paper brand paper is so perfect. It doesn't really crack that much. It's very smooth, and it's great for this project. So let me get my other items and we'll get started on the tutorial. First thing I'm starting out for with this tutorial are 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I'm using the Recollection 65 pound, and it's in the cream color, but you can use any cardstock you have and it'll pretty much work for this. So the first thing we're going to do with these is just trim them a little bit. So each of these I'm going to leave at 8.5 wide, but I'm going to cut this down to 10 inches. So you're just taking 1 inch off of each piece. So now we've got 2 pieces that measure 8.5 by 10. And so the next thing you do is you're going to glue these together. So using my craft mat, I want to overlap these an inch. So right here, from here to here is an inch. You can use a ruler for this, but this is like pretty easy. You can even eyeball this. It's not that important because I gave you enough room with enough inches on the paper. So what I want to do is, again, I want to overlap these an inch so they're an exact 16 inches across. So pretty much they're each losing a half an inch this way. So if we did that, let me just measure this from the 10 inch, make sure it goes all the way to 26. Yeah, so you are going to overlap these 1 inch. So I'm just taking this first one here, lining it straight on my craft mat. And see this line here and this line here, that's 1 inch. That's where I'm going to add my glue. So just be pretty generous with your glue because this is where they're going to attach together. And what you're doing essentially here is just making a longer sheet because 12 by 12 just wasn't big enough. So we have to glue 2 pieces together. So now I'm going to take this one and using my craft mat to line it up, I'm going to glue it down, overlapping it 1 inch. And we know it's straight because it's lined up here. And then just burnish that really well. And there we go. So now we have a one big sheet that measures 10 by 16. So that's what you're going to need for the cover of your album. So let's set that aside. And now I'm going to bring in something that I don't use that often on my channel. And this is chipboard. So what I did, this right here is seriously the back of an old calendar. You know how they put like the little insert in there? So this is an insert from a calendar. You can also use the backs of all of your paper pads. Those are chipboard, like the back page. I'll link some below just in case you don't have any. Even like Dollar Tree, if you get like the drawing pads, the back flap page of that drawing pad is chipboard. So any chipboard that you have, I'm going to use this old insert from a calendar. So we're going to cut some pieces off of this. And my recommendation to you is to take your good blade out of your cutter and put an old dull blade in. So I'm going to put this old dull blade, and I saved this blade right here just because it's old, it's dull, and I use it for chipboard and other stuff. So I don't want to ruin my really good, sharp, good one, but we're going to go ahead and use the dull one. So you're going to cut some pieces off of here. These are going to measure, you're going to have two pieces that measure 6 by 8 and one that measures 2 by 8. So let's first cut the 6. And if you have a regular paper trimmer like me, you might have to turn it over and do the other side, but I think we're pretty much good to go. You can just kind of work it, and there, it cuts right off. And don't worry about the edges being rough. We're going to cover them anyway. So we've got it 6 inches, and now we're going in for 8 inches. So again, this is like medium weight chipboard. You can get heavy, like weight chipboard, lightweight, but this is like a medium weight. So we've got one of our 6 by 8 pieces. We need another one. My 2 6 by 8 pieces. And then I need a piece that measures 2 by 8. So I should have been paying attention to the way I was cutting. So I'm going to have to bring this other medium weight chipboard in to cut this down to 2 by 8 because I didn't have enough left on that one. This is for the spine piece, so I do want it to be 2 inches. So I'm going to do 2 by 8. I seriously just save all the backs of my paper pads, and I have plenty of chipboard for all of my chipboard needs. So we've got 3 pieces of chipboard cut, 2 down to 6 by 8 and 1 down to 2 by 8. Okay, so now come back in with your big long piece, the 16 by 10 piece, and we're going to kind of try to eyeball the way that we want this laid out. So first of all, I'm going to find the center and kind of lay down my 2-inch piece in the center. You can totally use a ruler or whatever, but I'm just going to eyeball this. And then the trick for this, so you want this pretty close to your spine, but the trick for this is to have enough room in between where you can fit one width of this chipboard. So that's kind of how to know how much gap to leave in between. So I'm just going to put some adhesive on here. Okay, so I'm going to glue this down. Kind of try to eyeball that center like I said. Okay, so I've chosen a spot for my spine. Hopefully that's pretty centered. And just burnish that down. Okay, then I put adhesive on this piece here, and I just want to line it up straight. And like I said, I want to use about the width of this chipboard. Not exactly straight down here, but it's okay because I'll show you what we're going to do. So then I'm going to add adhesive to this. Okay, so we've got this all covered, and now what we're going to do is we're going to cut a little angle off of the corners. And so let me show you how that's done. So you want to leave about an 1/8 inch to the corner. So I'm just going to cut at an angle right off like that. See how there's just a little bit left? And then you're going to do that for every corner. Okay, so we've cut our little corners off. So now I just want to gently kind of work the paper against the chipboard without ripping it. So I'm just going to gently kind of bend it like that and like this. And another thing I like to do is kind of just crease it with my bone folder all across these edges. Don't rip the paper and don't be too hard on it depending on how thin your paper is. You just kind of want to get it ready because we're going to be folding that over, of course. Okay, so now the next thing to do is grab some adhesive. So for this, I'm just going to use my ATG gun. You can use Scor Tape. A lot of people like to use Scor Tape because it's really strong, but I'm going to use my ATG gun. So it's pretty strong as well. So you want to get all the way to that edge and just be kind of generous with how much you put on here. So you're going to add adhesive to all of your flats. Okay, so now that we have adhesive, gently, gently, gently work your paper up from the bottom. And do not rip this. So if you push down in the center, you might rip the sides. So you want to take this gently from each side and start there. And just kind of work it down. So it's very much tight against that chipboard, but you're still being gentle and not ripping it. It's very, very easy. So now we've got a nice clean edge there. And I like to take my bone folder for sure and burnish that down to the chipboard. That's why I like using this Recollections cardstock too, is because it's very smooth and it doesn't crack. Okay, so then I'm going to turn it this way and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Just work it gently, press it down with your fingers, and then burnish it with your bone folder. I first learned how to do chipboard covers like this from one of my favorite crafters here on YouTube, Mysistersscrapper, and that's where I first learned how to make chipboard covers. So she's amazing. I love her tutorials, and if you remember, I made that vintage library mini album for my mother-in-law to give as a gift to one of her friends. I didn't do a tutorial on that, but I got the tutorial for most everything from Mysistersscrapper. So she is amazing. If you want to learn how to make really nice mini albums, her channel is the place to go. Like, I would recommend her all day, every day. And I'm going to burnish this down. And then a little trick that Ginger from Mysistersscrapper also says is if you have little edges left here kind of poking out, just take your bone folder and kind of bend them down. Just kind of work them down with your bone folder, and they really won't get in your way. Take your bone folder and gently just kind of score where the gaps are here. Okay, so we got that underneath part scored. So you're not gonna bend this up yet because we need to cover this with pretty paper, right? So let me go grab the paper we're gonna use. So I am gonna use the paper pad for this part because I don't need it to be double-sided. So I want to decide which paper I want for the inside covers. So I'm just gonna flip through here and kind of see what I want to use. This is like one of the most gorgeous paper pads that Maggie Holmes has ever made. Oh, I think I'm going to use this one. This is one of my favorites as well. So with that pretty pattern paper, I cut 2 pieces down to 7 3/4 by 5 3/4. And then this middle piece is cut down to 7 3/4 by 3 1/4. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is do the 2 side pieces. So move the middle piece out of your way, and you're going to make this so there's an even border all the way around. You're not going to reach this gap here. There's going to be some room between that chipboard and this gap. So just remember that and keep that in mind. So let's go ahead and glue this part down. Conscious of where you're putting the adhesive because you want to get it all the way to the edge. And be pretty generous with it. That looks pretty good to me. Burnished all the way to the edges. I think that looks really pretty. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing over here on this side. Okay, so now all we have left is the center. So I wanted this to overlap quite a bit because we're going to be, again, creasing that down to bend it. So I wanted there to be plenty of slack. And so there is our piece. I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down. This paper is so gorgeous. I love it. So see how quick this is coming together? So you're going to take your bone folder and kind of see where the gap is. You might have to gently bring this up a little, like super gently, and then just kind of, without ripping your paper, give it a nice crease. Very gently again on this side, and give it a nice crease. And then ever so gently, bring that over. And then same thing over here, ever so gently. And your book is coming together so beautifully. So look what we just did. We created a chipboard book cover. And we're going to use so much paper in this, you guys. It's going to be so awesome. But first, I think I want to decide what the cover is going to look like. Okay, so let's put this aside and take our paper pad out again and decide what we want for the cover. This one's like a front runner. I think we're just going to break it out because that just really goes nicely with this. It's nice and subtle, so I can even embellish the front still. So let me let's go with this one. Cover, you're going to need 2 pieces that measure 7 3/4 by 5 3/4 and 1 piece that measures 7 3/4 by 1 3/4. And we're glue these down. So let me start with this one for the front. I'm going to lay it flat and I'm going to glue that down. Love this paper, oh my goodness. And we're going to decorate the cover and everything, but this is like your basic construction of your beautiful cover. So now I'm going to take the other big piece and mat it over here. Now, last is just to get the spine put on here. So again, you just center that piece and glue it down. This is how easy it is to make an album cover. It looks like the cover of a book. It's so beautiful. It's covered inside and out. This is a great base for any mini album, and you can make it any size using the same technique. So wasn't that super easy? Now I'm going to show you the fun part. We're going to fill this up with tons and tons of beautiful pages of paper. So this next part, you're going to need some twine. And I'm using this twine that I got at Target. It was like on clearance. But you can use any twine for this. You can use yarn, elastic band, literally any string that's just like pretty strong you can use for this. And this is the genius part that Sarah Elliot came up with. So I'm going to try to get that part out of my way. So what you do is you're going to wrap this around your spine as many times as you want. So I'm going to try to attempt 20. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but let's try it. So I'm going to leave quite a bit of slack, and I can't really tell you how much slack you're going to need. But just to be safe, let's do the entire length. You're not going to need near this much, but let's just, to be safe, do the entire length of the top of the book. So that's how much slack you're going to need. Make sure that your slack is right here. So here's the book, here's the left side. I'm going to start on the left side. Put your finger here and your slack will hang down, okay? So then you're literally just going to wrap this around as many times as you can. So make sure you have enough twine to do this several times. So do you see how I'm just wrapping it around pretty tightly, not super duper tight, but pretty tight because you want it to stay. So here I am. I've got 4 so far. I want to do as many as I possibly can. I just want to keep going. So I have 5 now, and I'm going to slide these together. But you've got to keep holding your finger on that top left piece where the slack hangs down. So I'm going to continue wrapping this as many times as I can. Okay, so this is where I started, where my finger is up here, and this is where I'm ending. So this is the outside, and so this is the piece we started with, and it's going to be going over this top cover. This was the slack that we started with. This piece is the one we just wrapped around, and then we brought it up from the bottom, and now it's kind of already over this cover. This one is coming up under and around, and this one's already over. So they're kind of like opposites right now. So what Sarah did in her video, I believe, is, first let me cut a little bit of this slack off because there's too much at the ending piece. So I believe she took all of these, she took this piece over here that she started with and slid it underneath all these pieces. So that's what I'm going to do there. Okay, so see, I took the piece we started with and just slid it underneath all these pieces. Then the piece she ended with, she did the same thing. She slid it underneath all of the twine pieces that are on the outside. Okay, so then she had it like this, and then I think she tied this in a really cute bow, but I don't, hers looked better than mine, so I don't really know if I'm doing this right, but let's just try it. So she tied this in a cute bow, and you don't want to make it too tight, but you do want it to stay, so I think I'm going to tie it in a double knot first. And then a bow. This is the cutest little idea, and look at, see now it's a cute bow. This is the top still. You turn it around and you've got all these twine pieces on the inside, which are going to become the binding for all of our beautiful paper. And this is so easy. This is like the easiest binding ever, and it's such a genius idea by Sarah. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yay, we made 20. I'm so excited, you guys. So this is what we're going to do next. Okay, so like I said, this is the fun part. We're going to add a bunch of beautiful paper inside our album. So you're going to have two different kinds of cuts here. So for the first cut, it's super easy. You're just going to cut this down to 11.5 wide by 7 3/4 tall. Make sure that if you have a paper that's oriented up and down like this, that you cut it the right way. So you're going to cut 10 pieces down to 7 3/4 by 11.5. Okay? The second piece you're going to cut down is going to look like this. Isn't that cute? It's a little folder. So this piece is going to measure 10 3/4 tall by 11.5 wide. So again, it's 10 3/4 tall by 11.5 wide. And the reason it's 10 3/4 is because 3 inches goes up to make the pockets. Then we're going to stick these in just like this. It's so cute. So you just take your twine, put your paper right through. And there you go, you've got your first page. Then, of course, we're going to do a pocket page in the second twine. And again, you're going to have 10 of each of these, 20 pages all together, and then I'll show you what else we're going to do. So there it is, there's the center, and your first 2 pages are in. Isn't that so cool how that's going to work? So the first 2 pages are in. So I'm going to cut down the rest of my paper and I'm going to show you how to make this pocket page. Okay, so I've cut all my paper down. I have the rest of the ones that measure 7 3/4 by 11.5. So those just need to be folded in half. And then I have the rest of these for my pockets. So these ones measure 11.5 by 10 3/4. So I'm going to show you how to make the pocket page. I've made this a million times on my channel, but I'm going to show you again right here. It's super easy. Let's get started. So to make the pocket page, you're going to put your paper in on your scoreboard. So it's really good to have a scoreboard for this because when you're doing a lot of folding and bending and stuff, it's good to score your paper because that helps with the cracking of the paper. So if you were just to kind of hand fold this, it would have a more tendency to crack over here. But like I said, just do it as easy as you can do it. This Maggie Holmes paper is so smooth, it hardly ever cracks anyways. So use what you have, but if you do have a scoreboard, I recommend using it for this part. So you're going to put your pocket page in here at the 10 3/4 side. And that right here is what's going to be up here, 10 3/4. So that means that this is the top of your page and this is the bottom of your page. You're going to score in at 7 3/4. So make a score line at 7 3/4. Make sure it's a good score line, but don't rip your paper. Then you're going to turn it just 1/4 turn like this, to where now your score line that you just made is down here, and you are on the 11.5 inch side. So see, this is 11.5 inches up here. This is the top of your paper. This is now the bottom. And you're going to score down the middle at 5 3/4. So just go right down the middle at 5 3/4. That's going to give you a nice crisp score line to fold all of these up. You're not going to have any tearing or cracking of your paper. So then to make the pocket, here are your score lines if you can see them. First, I like to fold this in half on that score line, your bone folder, and it's a really nice fold because you scored it. Then open it back up and fold this score line up and crease it down with your bone folder. Then you're going to open it back up again and fold it again, okay? So this is the part where you're going to make a little cut. Turn it this way now, so the left is the opening, okay? Take your scissors, and from this score line that you made right here, this score line, you're just going to cut off a teeny tiny triangle, and I'll show you why before we do it. Because if you just made this pocket like this and then try to fold this in half, it's kind of like really bulky here in the middle, and it wouldn't really cooperate in your book. So that's why we're going to cut a little bit out of here to make it not so obstructed there in the middle. So your opening is in your left hand over here. And from this score line here, you're going to make a little tiny triangle cut. So just add an angle. So this is how big that cut was. So now you're going to turn this around and open it back up to fold the pockets up. And it's so much nicer, and it looks better and more finished. And the closure is so smooth now. But you have to worry about these right here staying down. So that's where I bring in my wet glue. It's important to use wet glue for this. So I'm using the Tombow Mono Liquid Glue. And I'm just going to put a very light bead of glue. So light bead of glue on either side. I mean, how easy is this pocket page? It's so easy. Anybody can do it. Okay, so then you just seal it up. And now you have the perfect, cute little pocket page. So I'm going to continue. I already folded all these, and I'm going to make my pockets, and I'll be right back to show you how we're going to put all the pages into our book. Okay, so I have all of my pages cut down. Here's all my beautiful pocket pages. And they're so cute. And then I've got all of my just flat regular pages. So I was contemplating whether to round the corners or not, because I don't want the little corners to get bent, but I think I'm going to go without rounding them this time. So this is how we're going to put them in here. As you know, we already stuck these ones in, so I did like a flat one, a pocket one. So I'm just going to go every other and fill this thing up. It's going to be so pretty. I'm so excited about it. I'm about halfway done here, and as you can see, it's a little bit of a struggle to get these through once these start stacking up, but if you just bend it gently and stick it through, it works out perfectly. So now I think instead of trying to build from this side, I'm going to start back from this side. getting down to like the last ones, and it's getting a little harder to put these in. So as you can see, I just gently bend the page back, and it doesn't damage it at all. It looks fine. But let me show you a little trick on what I've been doing. So this was a pocket page, so this needs to be the flat page. So instead of putting it in like this, I'm putting it in this way. So, well, I kind of figured that out along the way. So if you put it in like this, you kind of have to battle this stack of paper here. But if you put it in this way, you grab your twine and make this a little looser than tighter, because it's not elasticy, and also that's another good point. Elastic would work really good with this too. So at least you just have to bend this just a little to get under the twine, and then you're good to go. And you can just pull it through. Just be careful you don't rip the bottom. So that's my little tip on how to do this a little bit easier. So I'm just going to keep going here. I've got 3 more pages, and it's going to be totally worth it in the end, I promise. Okay, so it looks like I did miscount. I do have 1 string left in here, so I can always add another page, but I'm going to call it good. I think I have 19 pages in here. So let's close this up, kind of straighten it out a little. Look at how cute that looks. Look at how the top looks. All those beautiful, gorgeous pages. Look at that. Isn't this so awesome? The easiest binding ever. So let's do a quick flip through, because we're going to still decorate the cover. Oh my goodness, look at how we've just showcased all the gorgeous paper in here. You can add so many photos to this. Add stuff in the pockets. This is just absolutely beautiful, and it's a great way to not have to glue down one of your sides of the paper. You get to showcase both full sides of the paper when you've got your double-sided paper here. Look how pretty this is. Oh my goodness, I just love this Maggie Helms Flourish collection. It's so gorgeous. There's just so much you could do with this album. There's plenty of room to add photos and goodies in the pockets. So I just absolutely love this binding system that Sarah came up with. And I love how this looks. This is so pretty. I only want to simply decorate the cover. So as you know, I've got the Flourish frames here. I wonder how that would look. That would look so pretty with just a frame on there. What if I did like this little house framed? So I just want to kind of see how that would look. That is so adorable. I love the little house. And then I'm going to put the frame right around it, and I'm going to glue that down. So while my hot glue gun heats up, I'm going to take some seam binding that I got from Etsy, and it's from MyScrapcabin. I'll link her shop below. She has the most amazing seam binding. So look at these 2 colors. Aren't they gorgeous? They go perfect with the collection. So I'm going to use a little bit right here where the twine meets. I'm just going to slip that right under that knot and just tie another cute little bow. This will add so much to this book. So beautiful how this just flows and the colors match. So I'm just going to give it a little tiny trim. And there we go. We added some cute fluff to the side. Really cute. Gotta work fast here. Make sure I put plenty of glue. Little cottage. I think this is absolutely adorable. Press press it down. Our album is officially finished. I think this turned out so pretty. Let me give you a close-up. I just absolutely love the simplicity of the cover. This wood frame and the cute little cottage. Here's the side with all the beautiful seam binding and the twine. And the back cover. This is so, so, so special. I love how this turned out. We could add like a pocket right here. I think I'll do that later. And then of course we've already done our flip through of all the gorgeous pages. And here's the back cover. The possibilities are endless with this book. You can now take your ephemera packs and fill these up. Glue pictures down, put stickers in here. All kinds of stuff. This is the most beautiful album. This is so easy to make. There's no hinge system or anything like that. I do recommend using more of a stretchy cord here. That would work a lot better just because we put so many pages in. But this is definitely a project where you can use up so much paper. And the scraps that we had left are right here. So the strips, I can just cut out some shapes or make some banners. But these ones here, stay tuned because I'm going to be posting a really quick bonus video on how I'm going to use up the rest of these scraps. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be after this video. Thank you so much for watching. I just adore this collection and I hope that you get your paper out, get some chipboard. It's so easy to do. It's so much fun. You can make a bunch of these for friends. You can make them in any theme, use any paper, and just have fun with it. So thanks so much for watching. I'm Lyric Lover Crafts over on Instagram. I'd love if you'd follow me there and subscribe here as well if you're not already. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for your sweet comments. If you enjoyed this and want to see more Rediscover Your Stash videos, please give this a thumbs up and I'll see you really soon in the next video. Bye!